Alright, so going into today's video, we're kind of breaking down game one against Blue-Red Wizards, where there were definitely some questionable decisions, and a lot of people encouraged in the comments different play lines than we took, but we need to kind of have an idea of what the deck we're looking at is. First off, we played a slightly different version of Burn with Amped Raptor and Arena of Glory, which was reasonably successful in its first iteration. Second iteration, I went a little overboard on trying to experiment with some unique cards, and I don't know that we quite hit on where I wanted to be with the build, but basically the main thing, no copies of either Riftbolt or Skewer the Critics because we're playing Amped Raptor and we don't have any additional energy outlets like the energy decks do. We're not playing Unstable Amulet, we're not playing Galvanic Discharge, we're just straight up playing Amped Raptor, and we're playing it kind of as a value card. Arena of Glory is added to our mana base. This can make for some awkward draws, especially when you pair it with our one copy of Elegant Parlor. But overall, I've been kind of okay with this mana base, although we are a little bit down on white for Sanctifier in the post-board games. The rest of the main deck, nothing too fancy. 4 copies of Skullcrack, 4 copies of Blaze, Boros Charm, just kind of the usual 4 copies of Eidolon. Can interchange this with this or Rolling Vortex, whichever you think is better positioned personally. And then 4 copies of Ranger's Firebrand, because it was a card that was suggested, because we were trying to play with fire in the first build of this Amped Raptor build. The fact that sorcery is a little bit worse, and the fact that you really need to be playing it with a creature in play, instead of just, say turn 1, shocking your opponent's face. So it is a card that requires a little bit more judicious use of it rather than play with fire, being a little less conditional when you can use it. And then the sideboard, we won't really get too much into. Blood Moon was just kind of messing with some tech against possibly Eldrazi and a few other decks. Brotherhood's End and Searing Blood was kind of an effort to try to split our Shatter Effect hate while also having a little bit more play against energy, but I don't know that Brotherhood's End is the right way to attack energy quite yet. And then the rest of the sideboard, nothing too fancy there. But let's get into the gameplay and show you game 1 against Blue-Red Wizards. Alright, much like the first video we did, we're going to take a look at a game against Blue-Red Wizards and kind of take a look turn by turn, play line by play line. Whether some plays were good or bad, just kind of taking a look at some situations where play lines maybe could have been a little bit better. This being the Blue-Red Wizards list, or Blue-Red Wizards game. People commented about the play patterns resulting from it. So, start off by being on the play. The hand is obviously reasonable enough. Goblin Guide into some burn spells. A little bit awkward with the mana base here, so some consideration this hand should have been thrown back to begin with just because we have the 2 top lands. But, I mean, that said, we go ahead and dump a Searing Blaze in the yard. Our opponent does Thundering Falls, keeps the card on top. We draw an untapped land. Go ahead and Prismatic Vista and Lava Spike them. Opponent plays a Tamiyo and we pass. We just go ahead and do nothing because we can't really attack into the 0-3 with our 0-2 or 2-2. I mean, yeah, and we would give them a free look, and they probably have a bolt anyway. So go ahead and Boros Charm them, put them to 10. So this is where you really have 2 choices with this style of a hand. So first off, you can just start pumping spells and try to overload your opponent. The problem with that approach right at the moment is the fact that we have a bunch of 2 mana spells with only 3 lands, and you can't float mana across turns. So the thought process was now, with my opponent with already in 6 cards in hand, and the Tamiyo going, was to wait till they get a handful and start either having to discard or see if they get sloppy and maybe open up an opportunity for us to resolve some burn spells and just kill them. So here we go ahead and go after them. Our opponent could have something like Spell Snare or Spell Pierce, and Skullcrack was one of our lower end spells. So I was happy to do that when our opponent tapped low. All the Storm Giants. Opponent once again drawing a bunch of cards. Play our 4th land and pass. That does notably not crack, because at this point they know they could be dead at any point. So our opponent does a very good job here of being patient. So a lot of people commented that I left this Eidolon in my hand for 3 turns, or however many turn cycles it was. So the thing is, right at the moment, my opponent's at 7 cards in hand. So what we can take away from that, and especially considering they look to be on the Blue-Red Wizards list, is they're probably sitting on cards like Bolt, Flame of Anor, things like that. And we want to be able to capitalize on any situation in which my opponent maybe taps low with some cracking clues or something. And if we cast this Eidolon main phase, that kind of takes away our ability to do that. So opponent just continues to play lands, continues to attack. Nothing too terribly exciting. Pass to our turn. We draw land, so we play it. Not really anything exciting here to do. Opponent cracks a clue, but notably still has mana up, so there really didn't seem to be much in the way of things going on. So opponent has to go discard, chucks a Galvanic Iteration. We draw, Inspiring Vantage, so go ahead and play that out. Pass, our opponent cracks a clue, but still notably leaving a lot of mana up. Go through their turn, they attack us, play on their land, sunk into stupor. They could have flipped their Tamiyo at this point and probably tried to go for the ultimate for the win. But our opponent's just playing super patient, and us not playing into their things means we have no reason to really react. And now we could play Eidolon this turn, but our opponent, once again, 8 cards. We have only 5 cards in hand currently. And this Tamiyo, while it is drawing them a whole bunch of cards, just isn't, really worth anything here at the moment. Playing with Nor and Dress Down. So somebody else commented that I could have probably killed this Tamiyo. And now that I'm actually looking at the spells that I've drawn, I don't, other than the Searing Blaze I binned with the Elegant Parlor on one, I literally haven't drawn a single spell that can kill a creature. It's all face damage. There's a Bolt, it cracks a clue. Okay, that wasn't when I made the mistake. So one gets in, does the thing. They once again have to discard a card. Discard Harbinger of the Seas. Now, unironically, if my opponent would have flayed Harbinger of the Seas here and left up some of their blue mana, we would have been in really bad shape. They would have been cut off, yes, from red mana, but if they go, say tap a bunch of mana, play a Harbinger of the Seas, and then this Bolt doesn't resolve, us not grabbing a land is going to another basic mountains would really bite us here. So there was some consideration to our opponent playing Harbinger of the Seas, but they want to leave open the option of Prismatic Vista to try to kill us. So makes sense. Not Prismatic Vista, Hole of the Storm Giants. Alright, opponent once again, gonna pitch a bunch of cards. We draw another land, we go ahead and play it. Notably now, we're sitting at 7 cards too, so it is kind of time to make a move. So, we have 6 mana. we have 6 spells we could cast. We need to resolve a combination of Boros Charm and one of these other cards. And my opponent's chilling with 3 lands, possibly 5. And I think this is when the mistake happens. So, no, okay. Opponent notably was trying to slowly inch us into range with their Bolt Snap plan. And then it is possible that this is when I should started to make a move. I play Eidolon here, mainly because we'd finally be discarding cards, so I felt it was worth it. Plus, we now have a Bolt to kind of add to the party. Snapcaster. Okay. Snapcaster Bolt. This is where I decide to make a move, and Bolt happens. Couldn't fire off a Skullcrack. Boros Charm. Opponent cracks a Prismatic Vista. Go ahead and get some basic island, get some counter spells. So I take the opportunity to put my opponent to 2, not realizing I just led myself dead on board. So with the way my opponent's having to play patient here, they had Spell Snare, they had Snapcaster Bolt and Bolt, or Snapcaster Bolt, and then they had double Counterspell. So what I probably should have done is not responded to any of this. Just let the Bolt resolve, let the Snap, and then, yes, they're starting to pressure us into the Hall of the Storm Giants, and they have to, weigh the possibility of killing us with Hall and then Snapcaster Mage. At the very least, I probably should have bolted the Snapcaster Mage held this Bolt and tried to bolt it during their turn, instead of just leaving myself dead here. But instead we put them to 2. Just probably fires up Hall of the Storm Giants. It is possible they would have tried to have gone for game here, but the way they were playing patient, that was certainly played a factor. So, a couple critiques. I definitely did not target the correct place with that Bolt. I probably should have knocked out the Snapcaster and prolonged the game, because even if they go here, they would have needed the 4th Bolt to win the game here, which I think is not a possibility. They would literally need Snapcaster Bolt. This would put us to 2, and we would have had the opportunity to potentially kill them. I still think playing the Eidolon was correct that turn cycle, which that part was fine. We were going to bite the Spell Snare anyway. And as far as the other lines, yes, we could have started deploying spells earlier, which a few people suggested. Basically, when you play against Control or Tempo decks in general, whether it's Murktide Regent, Death Shadow, Blue-Black Frog, just got Control, decks that have some amount of reach and flash, not just straight blue-white Control. It's kind of this razor's edge of you can either try to empty your hand as quickly as possible, or you try to like kill your opponent in one complete turn cycle. So what would have been the best strategy here would have been play the Eidolon, get countered, whatever. Don't react to anything my opponent's doing here. Let them do their turn. And in response, they try to fire up Hall of the Storm Giants. They only would have... they wouldn't have access to Force of Negation on their turn. So if they try to activate Hall to go for the kill, then we have the ability to just burn them out in the swap, basically, because they would only have either a spell pierce or a spell snare readily available, most likely. So that means we would have resolved 2 of the 3 spells we needed to kill them. So that is what I should have done, playing the strat. The other somebody else mentioned killing Tamiyo. Until we drew that bolt, we had no spell in our hand that could kill Tamiyo. So I think that point was kind of a non-starter. But, yeah. But, there were some other thin lines we could have done. We could have tried to haste the Eidolon with Arena of Glory, although I fully expected it not to resolve with Spell Snare or Counterspell anyway. Or just would have immediately died to a Galvanic Discharge or something. So, do I think I misplayed this game? Absolutely. Do I think there were lessons to be learned from both sides of the argument, whether it be, that unload your hand as quickly as possible or play the game the way I was playing it, which a lot of my experience came from playing Grixis Death Shadow over the year, or against Grixis Death Shadow over the years, or is it Murktide, etc. Trading 1-for-1 in your opponent's favor is just bad. And we had kind of a clunky hand and just couldn't really unload our spells in the early turns before they started accruing all these cards. So I felt it was better to force them to bleed, these Tamiyos and Harbingers and Bolts and Flames and Dress Downs. So, do I think the strategy I employed was the correct one, trying to win the game? I think if I would have waited till the end step of this particular turn and gone for the kill, we probably would have succeeded. But because I chose to react to them casting a flurry or using a flurry of mana instead of staying disciplined and doing the correct strategy in this situation, I definitely got punished. So hopefully you enjoy these kind of deeper dive looks into gameplay and plans. And with that, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe if you like burn content, and see you for our next video.